What if the secret to transforming your life wasn't about chasing success, but about mastering yourself from within? In this audiobook, you'll journey through 10 powerful lessons, each one unlocking a deeper level of self-awareness, peace, and purpose. From building quiet confidence to forgiving your past and choosing yourself daily, every chapter pulls you closer to your best self. But the final chapter, Grow Through Love, is the heartbeat of it all. The chapter that ties everything together and changes the way you live forever. Stay until the end, and don't forget to subscribe to Audiobook Shift for more life-changing insights. Number 1. Embrace inner worth. Embracing inner worth begins with understanding that your value is never dependent on anything external. It is not determined by what others think, by how much you achieve, or by the approval you receive. Inner worth is the quiet knowing that you are enough, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. It is an awareness that your existence carries meaning regardless of circumstance. Most people spend their lives trying to earn a sense of worth through success, relationships, or recognition. Yet the truth is that worth cannot be earned. It must be realized. The moment you stop chasing validation and start honoring yourself from within, you begin to experience a sense of peace that no external measure can disturb. Every person has an inner voice that quietly questions whether they are enough. That voice often grows from early comparisons, disappointments, or rejection. Over time, we internalize those moments until they shape how we see ourselves. You start to believe your worth is tied to performance, grades, career milestones, appearance, or social approval. This belief is heavy, exhausting, and endless. You achieve one goal and immediately feel the pressure to reach another. You receive praise, but it fades quickly, leaving you restless and uncertain again. True freedom comes only when you release the illusion that your worth depends on constant proving. To embrace inner worth, begin by noticing how often your sense of self depends on outcomes. If something goes wrong, do you immediately question your value? When someone criticizes you, do you feel small? Awareness is the first step toward transformation. Pay attention to those moments when you attach your identity to results or opinions. When you catch yourself doing that, pause and remind yourself that your worth is not negotiable. You can make mistakes, fail at tasks, or fall short of expectations and still be valuable. Failure changes your situation, not your essence. Inner worth also grows through integrity, living in alignment with your values rather than seeking validation. When your actions match your principles, you create a quiet confidence that no praise can replace. You stop chasing approval and start acting from conviction. This kind of self-respect builds a stable foundation for life. Integrity means keeping promises to yourself, saying no when necessary, and choosing what feels right even when it's difficult. Every time you honor your own truth, your inner worth strengthens. Comparison is another silent thief of worth. It convinces you that someone else's path is more meaningful than yours. The mind begins to measure success by others' achievements, forgetting that every person is walking a unique journey. The more you compare, the more distant you become from your own value. To break free, refocus on growth rather than comparison. Ask yourself daily, am I becoming a little more patient, disciplined, or kind than yesterday? That is the only measure that matters. Growth nurtures worth, while comparison diminishes it. Embracing inner worth is not arrogance or self-centeredness. It is humility in its purest form, acknowledging your inherent value without needing to be better than anyone else. It allows you to respect yourself and others equally. When you respect your own worth, you naturally respect the worth of others too. You no longer need to compete for significance because you understand that value is infinite. Everyone can shine without dimming anyone else's light. One practical way to strengthen this belief is through daily self-affirmation rooted in truth, not fantasy. Instead of repeating empty statements, reflect on real qualities that define you: your persistence, your compassion, your willingness to learn. Write them down and revisit them whenever doubt arises. Over time, these reminders help rewire your internal dialogue from criticism to appreciation. The goal is not to inflate your ego, but to balance your perception. Most people are experts at self-criticism and beginners at self-recognition. The practice of acknowledging your worth corrects that imbalance. Gratitude is another essential part of embracing worth. When you start to appreciate what you already have, you train your mind to see abundance rather than lack. Gratitude quiets the noise of inadequacy because it shifts attention from what's missing to what's meaningful. Each day, reflect on simple blessings: your breath, your resilience, the lessons you've learned through hardship. Gratitude reminds you that life has already given you more than enough to prove your worth. It teaches you that your presence itself is a gift. There will be days when you feel unworthy despite all these reminders. That is natural. Worth is not a constant feeling. It is a truth that remains even when your emotions fluctuate. On difficult days, your task is not to feel worthy, but to remember that you are. Emotions are waves. Worth is the ocean beneath them. Hold on to that awareness when storms arise. Your value does not diminish in pain or uncertainty. In fact, those moments reveal your strength and capacity to endure. To apply this in daily life, begin small. Each morning, commit to one action that honors your worth: eating well, setting boundaries, resting when needed, or speaking honestly. Each act of self-respect reinforces the message that you matter. The body and mind learn through repetition. Consistent action transforms belief into identity. You start to feel that self-respect is not a reward but a natural way of living. Relationships also mirror your sense of worth. When you value yourself, you stop settling for disrespect or neglect. You choose connections that align with your peace rather than your loneliness. You communicate with calm rather than desperation. People who respect themselves attract relationships built on respect. This is not about pride, it's about balance. You teach others how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. When you set boundaries rooted in self-worth, you protect your energy for the things and people that matter most. The journey of embracing inner worth requires patience. It is a process of unlearning as much as learning. You will have moments of clarity followed by moments of doubt, and both are part of growth. The key is persistence, continuing to affirm your value even when old habits return. Over time, this persistence transforms insecurity into stability. You stop seeking worth and start embodying it. From a Stoic perspective, inner worth is tied to control. You cannot control how others perceive you, but you can control how you perceive yourself. You cannot dictate external outcomes, but you can direct your effort and attitude. A person who understands this lives with quiet confidence. Their peace is not dependent on circumstances. They find strength in simplicity, joy in self-discipline, and meaning in being aligned with their purpose. To cultivate this mindset, focus daily on what you can influence: your thoughts, your reactions, your actions. When external situations don't go as planned, remind yourself that your worth remains untouched. This mental habit builds resilience. You start to see challenges not as threats to your value, but as opportunities to practice it. When you face criticism, you learn humility. When you face failure, you learn perseverance. Each experience reinforces the truth that your worth is beyond condition. In the end, embracing inner worth is not a single moment of realization, but a lifelong practice of self-awareness and self-respect. It is choosing to treat yourself with dignity every day, even when no one is watching. It is living with gratitude, honesty, and courage. It is knowing that your existence has purpose simply because you are alive and capable of growth. The world around you may shift, people may come and go, and circumstances may change, but your worth remains constant. It is the one thing that no loss, rejection, or failure can erase. When you finally accept that truth, you move through life differently. You stop chasing approval and start radiating assurance. You walk with quiet strength, knowing you belong wherever you stand. You face challenges with calm because you no longer need to prove yourself. You live with peace because your worth is not up for negotiation. That is the foundation of real confidence, the kind that doesn't shout, doesn't beg, and doesn't waver. It simply exists, steady and unshakable. Embracing inner worth is not about becoming more. It is about realizing you are already enough. Number 2, silence self-doubt. Silencing self-doubt begins with recognizing that it is not an enemy to destroy, but a voice to understand. It often speaks in whispers, disguised as caution or humility, Yet its real purpose is to hold you back from growth. Every person carries this voice within them, questioning whether they are good enough, capable enough, or worthy of success. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck is not the absence of doubt, but the ability to act despite it. Doubt will always try to make you hesitate. Your task is to keep moving with calm conviction. Self-doubt is born from fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of not living up to expectations. It grows stronger when you depend too much on external validation. When your sense of worth relies on others' opinions, every criticism feels like a verdict, and every mistake feels final. The first step towards silencing this inner noise is to shift your focus from approval to progress. You are not here to please. You are here to evolve. What matters is not perfection, but persistence. Growth is messy, uncomfortable, and uncertain, yet it is the only path that leads to confidence. One way to weaken self-doubt is through evidence. The mind believes what it sees repeatedly. When you remind yourself of past successes, lessons learned, and challenges overcome, you start building proof against the lies of insecurity. Keep a record of moments when you handled something well, no matter how small. The memory of your strength becomes a shield against the voice that says you can't. Most people remember their failures vividly and forget their victories quickly. Reverse that pattern. The more you recall your capabilities, the quieter doubt becomes. Silencing self-doubt also requires discipline over your thoughts. The mind tends to create stories that exaggerate fear. A simple mistake becomes proof of incompetence. One rejection becomes a prediction of failure. These mental distortions drain your confidence because you believe them without questioning their truth. To regain control, start observing your inner dialogue like an impartial witness. When doubt arises, pause and ask, is this thought a fact or a fear? Most often it is fear wearing the mask of reason. You have the power to challenge it, to replace it with thoughts grounded in truth. Action is the most powerful antidote to doubt. Overthinking magnifies insecurity. Movement reduces it. Every step you take toward your goals builds momentum, even when the outcome is uncertain. Confidence is not something you wait for before acting. It is something you earn by acting repeatedly. Start small if you must, but start. Each completed task, each promise kept, proves to your mind that you are capable. Over time, this steady action transforms hesitation into trust. The mind learns that even when fear whispers, you will move forward anyway. Another important truth is that self-doubt often imitates humility, but they are not the same. Humility acknowledges that there is always room to grow. Doubt insists that you will never be enough. Humility inspires effort. Doubt paralyzes it. When you understand the difference, you stop mistaking insecurity for modesty. You begin to carry yourself with quiet confidence, open to learning but firm in your belief that you belong. True humility walks hand in hand with self-assurance, not self-sabotage. Silencing self-doubt also means redefining failure. For most people, failure feels like proof of inadequacy. In reality, it is a natural part of mastery. Every person who has achieved greatness has faced countless failures before success. They simply learn to see those moments as teachers rather than enemies. When you view mistakes as data instead of defeat, you free yourself from the fear of trying. Doubt loses its grip because you no longer interpret setbacks as reflections of your identity. You understand that a failed attempt does not make you a failure. It only means you are learning. Your environment plays a major role in the volume of your inner critic. Surround yourself with people who encourage effort, not just results. When you spend time with those who support growth, you learn to normalize imperfection. Their belief in you becomes a mirror that helps you see your own potential more clearly. At the same time, distance yourself from voices that feed your insecurities. Negative environments amplify self-doubt because they thrive on comparison and criticism. Protecting your mental space is not selfish. It is survival for your self-esteem. In moments of doubt, return to your values. Knowing what truly matters to you creates clarity, and clarity silences confusion. When your actions align with your principles, you no longer question your direction, even if the outcome is uncertain. Values act like a compass, keeping you steady when fear clouds your vision. If you value honesty, Choose truth even when it's uncomfortable. If you value growth, choose challenge over comfort. Every choice made in alignment with your values strengthens trust in yourself. Doubt fades when your life becomes a reflection of your integrity. A powerful but often overlooked way to silence doubt is through stillness. The mind that is constantly rushing, comparing, and analyzing becomes a breeding ground for insecurity. Taking time to sit in silence without distraction or noise helps you reconnect with your inner calm. In that quiet space, you begin to realize that most of your fears are just echoes of an overworked mind. Stillness restores perspective. It allows you to hear the difference between intuition and anxiety. The more comfortable you become with silence, the easier it is to separate truth from fear. Forgiveness also plays a role in this process. Doubt often clings to past mistakes, using them as evidence against your potential. You replay old moments, wishing you had done better, said less, or tried harder. This mental habit traps you in guilt and prevents growth. The only way forward is through compassion. Forgive the version of yourself that didn't know better. Forgive the choices made in fear or confusion. Each mistake shaped the wisdom you carry now. When you release the weight of regret, your mind stops using the past as a weapon. You create space for new confidence to take root. Self-doubt thrives on comparison, and comparison thrives on distraction. The more time you spend observing other people's lives, the less time you have to nurture your own. Modern culture rewards external validation, likes, followers, recognition, but these things rarely translate to real fulfillment. To silence doubt, withdraw your attention from others' paths and reinvest it in your own. Focus on mastering your craft, refining your habits, and deepening your understanding of yourself. Progress is personal. When you measure it by your own standards, you no longer feel behind. Developing confidence is not about pretending to be fearless. It is about cultivating courage despite fear. Courage is quiet, steady, and rooted in purpose. It grows each time you honor your commitments, speak your truth, or face discomfort willingly. With every act of courage, doubt loses authority. You start trusting that even when you don't have all the answers, you have the strength to figure things out. Life becomes less about proving and more about exploring. The unknown no longer feels threatening. It becomes an invitation to grow. From a Stoic lens, self-doubt is a failure to focus on what is within your control. You cannot control how others perceive you, but you can control your effort, your discipline, and your character. When you channel your energy into what you can influence, uncertainty becomes irrelevant. A Stoic mind reminds itself daily that opinions, outcomes, and judgments are beyond reach, but action is always available. The person who acts with integrity and effort has already succeeded, regardless of recognition. This simple truth dismantles the roots of doubt because it shifts the focus from results to virtue. The most profound way to quiet self-doubt is through self-trust. Trust grows when you consistently follow through on your promises to yourself. Each time you commit to a goal and see it through, you build inner credibility. You start believing in your own reliability. Many people struggle with doubt because they've broken too many promises to themselves. Plans abandoned, goals postponed, habits neglected. The solution is not guilt, but renewal. Start again, even in small ways. Each act of discipline repairs that broken trust. Over time, you realize that confidence is not a gift, but a record of kept commitment. Eventually, the voice of self-doubt becomes a faint echo in the distance. It may still appear, but it no longer dictates your actions. You move forward with quiet certainty, guided by discipline and grounded in truth. You understand that doubt may visit, but it cannot stay. Your worth is not dependent on its approval. You walk into challenges with composure, into uncertainty with curiosity, and into life with courage. Silence no longer feels like emptiness. It becomes the space where strength grows. In that stillness, self-doubt loses its power, and what remains is a steady confidence born not from pride but from peace. Number 3, build daily confidence. Building daily confidence is not about sudden transformation or grand achievements. It's about quiet consistency. True confidence does not arrive in a single moment of success. It is built piece by piece through daily habits, steady effort, and self-respect. It grows in ordinary moments, when you keep your word, when you finish what you start, when you choose courage over comfort. Each small act becomes a brick in the foundation of unshakable assurance. Confidence is not arrogance, nor is it pretending to be fearless. It is the calm certainty that you can handle whatever comes, even when the outcome is uncertain. The most reliable way to build confidence is through action. You cannot think your way into believing in yourself. You must prove it through experience. Every time you act despite hesitation, your mind records evidence of your capability. You begin to replace the question, "Can I do this?" with the statement, "I have done things before." Confidence grows not from avoiding challenges but from facing them one step at a time. When you begin the day with clear intention and follow through with effort, you train your mind to trust your own strength. That trust becomes the root of confidence. Routine plays a silent but powerful role in developing confidence. A person with structure creates predictability in an unpredictable world. When you wake, work, rest, and reflect with rhythm, you eliminate chaos from your days. Routine becomes a mirror of discipline, and discipline creates pride. This doesn't mean life should be rigid. It means you take control of your time instead of drifting through it. Small disciplines practiced daily, such as exercising, journaling, or planning your day, signal to your subconscious that you are in charge. Over time, that sense of control evolves into lasting confidence. Another essential principle of daily confidence is preparation. When you prepare, you quiet the fear of uncertainty. Confidence is often the result of readiness, not luck. The person who studies before the exam, practices before the performance, and plans before the meeting walks into every moment with calm assurance. Preparation reduces the gap between intention and execution. It reminds you that success is not a mystery but a process. The more prepared you are, the more naturally confidence arises, not because you expect perfection, but because you've done the work to deserve peace. Building confidence also requires self-awareness. Many people chase false confidence through comparison or external validation, but that kind fades quickly. Real confidence comes from knowing your strengths and accepting your weaknesses without shame. It is self-knowledge applied with wisdom. When you understand what you are good at, you use those abilities intentionally. When you recognize where you struggle, you learn and improve. Confidence is not pretending to know everything. It is trusting that you can learn anything. Each time you face a limitation with curiosity instead of fear, you expand your capacity. That expansion strengthens your sense of self-belief. Your words have immense influence on your confidence. The way you speak to yourself shapes how you show up in the world. Many people unknowingly sabotage their confidence through negative self-talk. They replay mistakes, magnify insecurities, and downplay accomplishments. To build daily confidence, change your inner language. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you respect. Replace "I can't" with "I will try." Replace "I failed" with "I learned." This shift in language transforms your mindset from self-criticism to self-leadership. Each encouraging word builds mental resilience, and resilience fuels confidence. Physical state also affects confidence more than people realize. The body and mind are deeply connected. When you move your body with purpose, through exercise, posture, and breathing, you influence how you think and feel. A strong body teaches the mind that it is capable. Something as simple as standing tall, maintaining eye contact, and breathing deeply signals assurance both to yourself and others. The way you carry yourself becomes a reflection of how you view your daily physical care. Sleep, nutrition, and activity forms the foundation of emotional steadiness. You cannot feel confident in a neglected body. Consistency is the secret ingredient behind all lasting confidence. Doing something once may feel good, but doing it repeatedly builds identity. When you act with consistency, you begin to see yourself as reliable. The person who consistently shows up, even when it's hard, becomes the person who can trust themselves. Confidence is built through repetition. Writing every day if you're a writer, practicing every morning if you're an athlete, learning something new each day if you're a student of life. Repetition turns effort into instinct. What once felt difficult becomes natural, and what once seemed intimidating becomes familiar. To build confidence daily, focus on progress rather than perfection. Perfection is an illusion that destroys motivation. It convinces you that unless everything goes right, you have failed. Progress, on the other hand, recognizes growth, even in small steps. When you measure improvement by effort instead of results, you free yourself from constant pressure. Progress builds confidence because it reminds you that you are moving forward. Even one step today is evidence that you are better than you were yesterday. Confidence does not come from being flawless. It comes from being consistent in the face of imperfection. It is also important to surround yourself with environments that nurture your confidence. The company you keep influences how you see yourself. Spend time with people who encourage you to aim higher and who celebrate your growth rather than your comfort. Constructive energy fuels belief. Negative company, however, feeds insecurity through gossip, competition, or doubt. Protect your environment as you would your peace. Confidence cannot thrive in places that constantly make you question your value. Choose spaces that challenge you to evolve but still allow you to be authentic. Another practice for building confidence is learning something new regularly. When you expose yourself to new experiences, you stretch your comfort zone. The act of learning keeps the mind flexible and open. Every new skill, no matter how small, reinforces the idea that you are capable of growth. Read books that challenge your thinking. Try hobbies that test your patience. Engage in conversations that expand your perspective. Learning creates momentum, and momentum builds confidence. It reminds you that growth is infinite as long as curiosity remains alive. Failures, when approached with the right mindset, are opportunities for strengthening confidence. Each setback contains information that guides improvement. The confident person does not run from mistakes. They study them, extract lessons, and apply those lessons. This response turns adversity into advantage. The key is detachment. See the event as feedback, not as a reflection of your worth. The moment you stop fearing failure, you gain control over your confidence. You no longer depend on success to feel secure. You depend on your own ability to adapt. That realization brings peace, even in uncertainty. Confidence also flourishes when you contribute to something beyond yourself. Serving others through kindness, teaching, or mentorship gives purpose to your abilities. When you see your actions positively impacting others, it reinforces the belief that you matter. Contribution transforms self-focus into shared strength. It builds a quiet form of confidence grounded in compassion rather than ego. The more you give, the more you realize that your value does not diminish by sharing, it expands. Helping others grow often becomes the clearest reminder of your own capability. From a Stoic perspective, confidence is rooted in virtue rather than vanity. It is built on the daily practice of self-mastery, discipline, courage, honesty, and patience. The Stoic individual does not seek confidence through applause or achievement, but through alignment with principles. Each day lived with integrity becomes a day of inner victory. When your behavior matches your beliefs, doubt loses power. Confidence becomes not an emotion, but a moral strength. It remains stable through success and failure alike, because it depends on who you are, not on what happens around you. Reflection at the end of each day strengthens this foundation. When the evening comes, take a few minutes to review your actions with honesty. Acknowledge what you did well, identify what could improve, and appreciate the efforts you gave. This daily evaluation keeps your confidence grounded in truth rather than illusion. You recognize progress without denying imperfection. Over time, this practice builds self-awareness and humility, the two pillars of genuine confidence. You end each day not with regret, but with readiness for tomorrow. Confidence built daily does not announce itself loudly. It moves quietly through your life, shaping how you speak, think, and act. It shows up in how you handle challenges, how you recover from mistakes, and how you treat yourself when no one is watching. It is a reflection of steady discipline and unwavering faith in your ability to adapt. You will not wake up one day suddenly confident. It will emerge gradually through every choice you make. With time, you will notice that fear still exists, but it no longer commands you. You will realize that confidence was never about being fearless. It was about walking forward even when the path is uncertain. That is the confidence that endures, a quiet, unbreakable belief, born from daily effort and self-respect. Number 4. Practice radical acceptance. Practicing radical acceptance means choosing to face life exactly as it is, instead of wishing it were different. It is the courage to meet reality with open eyes and an open heart. Most people resist what they cannot control: pain, loss, change, imperfection, and that resistance becomes a quiet war inside the mind. Radical acceptance does not mean liking or approving of what happens. It means allowing truth to exist without fighting it. It is the decision to stop arguing with life and start understanding it. When you accept the moment fully, you stop wasting energy on denial and begin channeling it toward growth. Acceptance begins with awareness. Every day you encounter situations that don't go as planned. Someone disappoints you, plans fall apart, or circumstances shift without warning. The immediate reaction is to resist, to analyze, to complain, to blame. That resistance is the seed of suffering. The moment you recognize that something has already happened, you regain your power. You cannot rewrite the past or control every outcome, but you can control how you meet it. The practice of radical acceptance invites you to breathe, pause, and acknowledge reality without judgment. This moment is what it is, and that simple truth is freeing. Many confuse acceptance with surrendering to weakness, but it is actually an act of strength. It takes immense courage to see things clearly without trying to escape or distort them. Running from pain doesn't erase it. It only hides it deeper within. When you accept what is painful, you open the door to healing. Acceptance turns pain into wisdom. It teaches you to respond with calm rather than panic, to act with clarity instead of emotion. Acceptance is not passive. It is active awareness that allows you to move forward without being trapped by what you cannot change. To practice radical acceptance, begin by observing how often your mind argues with reality. Listen to the phrases that start with "this shouldn't have happened," or "it's not fair." Every time those thoughts arise, pause and remind yourself that fairness is not always the way of the world, and control is not always in your hands. This pause breaks the cycle of resistance. It creates space for peace. When you stop fighting what has already happened, you begin to focus on what can happen next. Acceptance transforms frustration into clarity and turns chaos into direction. A key part of this practice is learning to separate facts from stories. The mind loves to build narratives around every experience: why something happened, who is to blame, what it says about you. Most of these stories are colored by fear, ego, or assumption. Radical acceptance cuts through those layers. It asks you to look only at the facts. What actually happened? What can be done now? When you strip away emotional storytelling, truth becomes simpler and lighter. You realize that much of your suffering came not from the event itself, but from the story you built around it. Radical acceptance also applies to self-acceptance. Too often people hold themselves hostage to past mistakes, unmet expectations, or perceived flaws. You judge yourself for not being further ahead, smarter, calmer, stronger. You punish yourself for being human. Acceptance means allowing yourself to be imperfect without withdrawing love. It means acknowledging that growth takes time and that progress is uneven. The same compassion you offer to others must also be extended inward. You cannot change yourself through shame. You can only change through understanding. The moment you accept yourself as you are, you create the space to become. This practice is especially powerful when facing emotional pain. Life will bring moments of heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment, or loss. These experiences can shake your sense of identity and control. In those moments, acceptance does not mean pretending you're fine. It means allowing the pain to exist without judging it or rushing to fix it. When you let emotions move through you naturally, they lose their power to control you. Resistance traps pain. Acceptance releases it. The tears, the silence, the confusion, all are part of healing. You accept them because they are real, and in that truth you find strength. Radical acceptance also means embracing uncertainty. Human nature craves predictability, but life rarely moves in straight lines. Plans change, people evolve, circumstances shift. The more you cling to certainty, the more anxious you become when things inevitably change. Acceptance teaches you to rest in uncertainty, to trust that you can handle whatever comes, even without knowing how it will unfold. This kind of acceptance brings peace, not because you know the future, but because you are confident in your ability to adapt. Flexibility becomes your power. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everyone will understand, support, or appreciate you. People carry their own perceptions, shaped by experiences you may never know. You cannot force understanding or loyalty, and trying to do so only leads to frustration. Radical acceptance of others means allowing people to be who they are without needing them to fit your expectations. It frees you from emotional dependence and allows relationships to exist with honesty rather than control. You give love without demand and receive it without entitlement. That is maturity. From a practical standpoint, acceptance is built through mindfulness. Throughout the day, bring your attention to the present moment, your breath, your senses, the texture of what surrounds you. Notice when your mind drifts into regret or anxiety and gently return to now. The present moment is the only place where peace exists. The past cannot be undone, and the future cannot be predicted. When you learn to stay rooted in the present, acceptance becomes natural. You no longer need to fix every problem instantly. You begin to trust the rhythm of time. Gratitude enhances acceptance. Even when life feels heavy, there is always something worthy of appreciation. A lesson, a moment of stillness, a single breath. Gratitude does not erase difficulty, but it softens it. It helps you see beyond what is missing and recognize what remains. When you look at your life through the lens of gratitude, acceptance follows naturally. You start noticing how challenges shape character, how endings create beginnings, how even pain carries meaning. Gratitude turns acceptance into appreciation, and appreciation turns hardship into growth. Radical acceptance also means embracing the impermanence of everything. Nothing in life, pain or joy, success or failure, lasts forever. The more you understand this truth, the less you cling to what must eventually pass. When good times come, enjoy them fully without fear of losing them. When hard times come, endure them, knowing they will end. Impermanence gives depth to every experience. It reminds you to live fully in each moment without demanding permanence from a changing world. Acceptance of impermanence brings deep peace because it teaches you to flow with life rather than resist its tide. From a Stoic perspective, radical acceptance aligns perfectly with wisdom. The Stoics believed in focusing only on what is within one's control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, while releasing attachment to everything else. Acceptance is not indifference, it is clarity. When you accept what you cannot change, you redirect energy toward what you can influence. You act with strength rather than frustration. The Stoic mind does not waste time cursing the rain. It prepares to walk in it. In this mindset, acceptance becomes not weakness, but mastery. The practice of radical acceptance transforms relationships, work, and inner life. It softens your reactions and strengthens your resilience. You begin to approach challenges with calm rather than panic, people with empathy rather than judgment, and yourself with patience rather than disappointment. Acceptance turns chaos into understanding and confusion into wisdom. You stop trying to control everything and start trusting that life unfolds as it must. This trust is not blind optimism. It is quiet confidence in your ability to meet reality with grace. Over time, you realize that acceptance is not the end of change. It is the beginning. Only by fully acknowledging what exists can you transform it. Denial delays healing. Acceptance invites it. When you stop running from life, you start participating in it. You stop fearing what is real and begin learning from it. Radical acceptance teaches you that peace is not found in perfect circumstances, but in perfect awareness. You stop needing life to match your plans and start flowing with its rhythm. You discover that freedom is not the absence of pain, but the absence of resistance. And in that moment of deep acceptance, you meet yourself fully calm, aware, and finally at peace with the way things are. Number 5. Celebrate small wins. Celebrating small wins is one of the most underrated habits of self-growth. It's the quiet act of acknowledging progress before perfection, of recognizing effort before results. Too many people wait until they've reached the top of the mountain to feel proud, forgetting that every step upward counts just as much. The truth is, lasting confidence doesn't come from huge victories. It's built from the accumulation of small, consistent wins. When you learn to notice them, you begin to understand that progress is already happening, even when it feels slow. Every journey, whether it's personal healing, building confidence, or pursuing a dream, is made of countless small actions that often go unseen. Waking up early to work on yourself, saying no to distractions, staying kind in moments of frustration. All of these are victories that shape who you become. Most people overlook them because they don't look dramatic or impressive. But small wins are the foundation of discipline. They're the quiet proof that you're moving forward, one decision at a time. Every small win strengthens your belief in your ability to grow. The problem is that the human mind is wired to chase big results. It craves milestones that make us feel accomplished and validated. But focusing only on the big finish line can make you blind to the progress you're already making. You might start feeling like you're not moving fast enough, that you're failing because you haven't arrived yet. This mindset robs you of motivation. The gap between where you are and where you want to be starts feeling unbearable. The simple act of celebrating small wins bridges that gap. It reminds you that growth isn't about arrival, it's about movement. Celebration doesn't always mean a grand gesture. It means taking a moment to breathe and acknowledge your effort. When you complete a task you've been avoiding, that's a win. When you choose patience instead of anger, that's a win. When you get out of bed despite feeling tired, that's a win. When you speak kindly to yourself after making a mistake, that's a win. These moments seem small, but each one represents strength in motion. Every choice that aligns with your growth is worth honoring. When you learn to value these moments, you start building a deeper relationship with yourself, one built on encouragement, not criticism. Think of how a child learns to walk. Every stumble is followed by a few steps, and every few steps are met with joy and celebration. That celebration becomes motivation. The child doesn't wait until they can sprint before feeling proud. They celebrate standing, then walking, then running. Somewhere along the way to adulthood, that natural instinct to celebrate progress fades. You start demanding perfection instead of appreciating progress. But growth still works the same way. It needs acknowledgement to flourish. You can't build confidence by ignoring your progress. Small wins create momentum. They shift your focus from what's missing to what's working. Every time you celebrate one, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical that fuels motivation and joy. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's biological. The more you notice progress, the more energy you have to continue. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. You act, you notice, you feel good, and you act again. Without that recognition, your mind starts associating effort with frustration instead of reward. Over time, that makes it harder to stay consistent. Celebrating small wins also builds resilience. Life won't always give you grand victories or instant gratification. There will be times when progress feels invisible, when you're doing the right things, but results haven't shown up yet. In those times, noticing small wins keeps your spirit steady. You remind yourself that effort counts. You understand that success isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Every day you show up for yourself, even when no one notices, you're building strength that no failure can erase. That's what separates the people who grow from those who give up too soon. One powerful way to practice this is by keeping a win journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you did well, no matter how small. It could be that you drank enough water, had a difficult conversation with grace, or took a 5-minute break to calm your mind. Over time, you'll start noticing patterns of progress you once ignored. Reading back through those pages on difficult days reminds you of how capable you are. It's a visual record of your quiet victories, and it fuels gratitude instead of self-doubt. You can also celebrate small wins in real time. Pause after completing a task and take a breath of acknowledgement. Say to yourself, "I did that." It might sound simple, but this habit rewires how you perceive yourself. Instead of constantly chasing the next thing, you start valuing the process. You begin living in appreciation rather than frustration. Every small win becomes proof that you're growing, that you're capable, that you're becoming the person you want to be, step by step. Many people hesitate to celebrate small wins because they fear it will make them complacent. They think acknowledgement means they'll lose the hunger to improve. But the opposite is true. Recognition doesn't slow you down, it strengthens you. Gratitude fuels discipline. When you celebrate your effort, you reinforce the behaviors that created progress. You teach your brain that growth feels rewarding, not punishing. This emotional feedback makes you more consistent, not less. Celebration is not the end of ambition. It's what keeps ambition alive. It's also important to detach your sense of worth from big outcomes. Sometimes you'll give your best effort and still not see immediate results. That doesn't mean you failed. It means life is still unfolding. When you learn to celebrate small wins, you stop measuring your value by how much you've achieved and start recognizing it through how much you've grown. Success becomes less about recognition and more about alignment with your purpose. You start appreciating the invisible victories, the patience, the effort, the moments when you choose growth over comfort. Every small win you celebrate becomes a vote for your future self. When you acknowledge your progress, you're telling yourself, I'm capable, I'm improving, I'm moving forward. Those words matter. They build self-trust. The more you celebrate small wins, the more confident you become in your ability to handle bigger challenges. What once felt impossible starts feeling achievable because you've built evidence that you can progress in small, steady steps. Confidence is never built in leaps, it's built in layers. The beauty of celebrating small wins is that it changes how you experience life. Instead of living only for big moments, you begin to find joy in everyday progress. You start noticing beauty in discipline, purpose in effort, meaning in patience, step rushing toward happiness, and begin finding it in the process itself. This mindset doesn't just make you more successful, it makes you more peaceful. You learn to live in appreciation rather than constant change. You begin to understand that joy isn't waiting at the finish line, it's hidden in the steps that lead you there. When you look back at any major transformation, it's never one big decision that made the difference, it's 1,000 small ones. Every little choice built the foundation for change. Every small act of courage, consistency, and belief shaped the outcome. So when you feel like progress is too slow, remind yourself that every small win matters. Every time you choose to keep going, you're already succeeding. The mountain is climbed one step at a time, and every step deserves acknowledgement. In the end, celebrating small wins is not about ego. It's about awareness. It's about staying awake to your own growth, honoring your effort, and keeping your spirit fueled. It's about realizing that every single day you show up, you're becoming stronger, wiser, and more grounded. The celebration doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be genuine. Progress, no matter how small, is still progress. You don't need to wait for life's big moments to feel proud. You can feel it now in this moment, because every step forward is worth celebrating. Number 6, forgive your past. Forgiving your past is one of the hardest yet most liberating acts you can do for yourself. Everyone carries something behind them, memories, regrets, choices they wish they could rewrite. Some of those moments weigh heavily, replaying in the quiet hours when the world is still. But no matter how deeply you revisit them, the past remains unchanged. The only thing you have power over is how you carry it forward. Forgiveness doesn't mean erasing what happened. It means choosing peace over punishment. It's the moment you stop letting old pain define your present self. You may not realize how much energy you spend holding on to the past. The guilt, anger, and disappointment build invisible walls around your heart. You might think that holding on to the pain keeps you safe, but all it does is keep you stuck. The truth is, every time you relive an old wound, you reopen it. Forgiveness is not about pretending it didn't hurt. It's about no longer letting the hurt control you. It's saying, this happened, but it no longer has power over who I am becoming. That's where freedom begins. So many people fear forgiveness because they think it means letting others off the hook or excusing their behavior. But forgiveness isn't about the other person, it's about you. It's about releasing the emotional grip that the past has on your life. Holding on to resentment or regret is like carrying a heavy stone everywhere you go. At first you think it's just part of who you are, but over time it exhausts you. Forgiveness is the moment you decide to set it down, to walk lighter, to live free. There's another kind of forgiveness that's often harder: forgiving yourself. The moments where you feel you failed, hurt someone unintentionally, made poor decisions, or settled for less than you deserved. These memories often echo louder than any mistake made by someone else. You replay them, dissect them, judge yourself for not knowing better. But growth is not possible without imperfection. You cannot become wise without first being inexperienced. You cannot develop strength without first facing weakness. To forgive yourself is to finally accept that you did the best you could with the awareness you had at the time. When you hold on to guilt, it becomes a chain that ties you to your former self. You start living like a prisoner of your own history. But the past is not a life sentence. It's a lesson. Every mistake taught you something vital about yourself, about others, about life. Forgiveness allows those lessons to serve you instead of haunt you. It transforms pain into perspective. The moment you forgive yourself, you stop being defined by what went wrong and start being guided by what you've learned. Forgiving your past requires courage because it means facing it fully. You can't heal what you refuse to see. Many people try to outrun their past by burying it under distractions, work, relationships, constant busyness. But what's buried alive always finds a way to resurface. The process of forgiveness begins with honesty. Sit with your past without judgment. Remember what happened, how it made you feel, and what it cost you. Then, instead of reacting with shame or bitterness, respond with compassion. You cannot change the event, but you can change the story you tell yourself about it. Ask yourself, what have I learned from this experience? What part of me did it strengthen? Every wound holds a lesson, and every lesson holds wisdom. Sometimes the very experiences you once wished away become the foundation of your resilience. They teach you empathy, humility, and perspective. When you forgive your past, you turn pain into purpose. You stop seeing yourself as someone broken and start recognizing yourself as someone who has overcome. That shift in identity changes everything. It's important to understand that forgiveness is not a single decision. It's a process. Some days you'll feel free, and other days the memories might resurface. When that happens, remind yourself that healing is not linear. You may have to forgive the same thing many times until it loses its hold on you. Every time you choose forgiveness again, the grip weakens. Slowly, the emotional charge fades, and peace begins to settle where pain once lived. That's not weakness, it's emotional maturity. Forgiveness also means letting go of the what-ifs. What if I had made a different choice? What if I had spoken up sooner? What if I had walked away earlier? These questions are traps. They create a false illusion of control over something that's already done. The truth is, you made the choices you made because that's who you were at that time, with that level of understanding, that mindset, that environment. You were not supposed to know everything then. You were supposed to learn. Forgiveness means trusting that you're wiser now because of what happened. Many people find it easier to forgive others than to forgive themselves because self-forgiveness requires self-compassion. It means treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer someone you love. But you cannot heal by hating yourself. You heal by understanding that you deserve peace. The version of you that made mistakes was trying to survive, to understand, to grow. You cannot punish your younger self for not having the wisdom you only have now. Growth means acknowledging the past without living in it. Sometimes forgiving the past also means forgiving the people who hurt you. This can be especially hard when their actions left lasting scars. But forgiveness doesn't mean you have to reconcile or trust them again. It means you refuse to carry their actions as your burden anymore. You release the emotional debt. You stop waiting for an apology that may never come. You give yourself closure even if they never do. That's not weakness, it's reclaiming power. It's saying, I won't let what happened define my peace any longer. In many ways, forgiveness is an act of rebellion against pain. It's choosing peace in a world that encourages revenge. It's choosing to move forward instead of staying anchored in anger. It's choosing freedom over bitterness. The past cannot be rewritten, but it can be redeemed through the way you live now. The moment you forgive, You stop being a victim of your past and start becoming the author of your future. You rewrite the narrative. You take your power back. Forgiveness also frees your relationships. When you hold on to old pain, it often bleeds into the present. You start seeing new experiences through the lens of old wounds. You become guarded, suspicious, distant. But when you let go, you make space for trust and love again. You stop expecting new people to pay for the mistakes of the old ones. You stop projecting the past onto the present. Forgiveness reopens your heart, allowing you to connect from a place of clarity rather than fear. From a Stoic point of view, forgiveness aligns with wisdom and acceptance. What has already happened is outside your control. No amount of regret can change it. What you can control is your response to it. Holding on to resentment means giving the past continued power over your present. The wise response is release. Forgiveness doesn't change history. It changes your relationship to it. It's an internal shift that turns emotional chaos into calm understanding. To practice forgiveness, start with awareness. When painful memories arise, don't push them away. Acknowledge them, then consciously release them. You can do this through reflection, writing, prayer, or simple mindfulness. Speak gently to yourself. That was then. This is now. I choose peace. Over time, that becomes your natural response. Forgiveness becomes not just something you do, it becomes who you are. The beautiful thing about forgiving your past is that it creates space for a new story. When you stop carrying what was, you make room for what can be. You begin to see yourself not as the sum of your mistakes, but as the evidence of resilience. You start appreciating the strength it took to survive, the courage it took to learn, and the wisdom it took to let go. Forgiveness gives you back your energy, your confidence, your peace. It allows you to finally look forward without the weight of yesterday holding you back. You are not the same person who made those mistakes. You've grown, learned, and evolved. The past is a chapter, not the whole book. Forgiving your past doesn't mean forgetting it. It means transforming it into wisdom. It's giving yourself permission to stop reliving what can't be changed and start embracing what can be created. You owe yourself that freedom. You owe yourself that peace. And the moment you decide to forgive, you begin to live lighter, clearer, and more connected to the person you are meant to become. Number 7, prioritize mental peace. Mental peace is not something you stumble upon by accident. It's something you deliberately build and fiercely protect. In a world that constantly demands attention, comparison, and reaction, peace has become a form of strength. It's not the absence of chaos. It's the ability to remain centered while the noise around you grows louder. Prioritizing mental peace means choosing calm over urgency, clarity over confusion, and presence over distraction. It's deciding that your well-being matters more than keeping up with what everyone else expects of you. You cannot live a peaceful life with an overloaded mind. The human brain is constantly processing thoughts, worries, expectations, regrets. Most of these don't belong to the present moment. They're echoes from the past or fears about the future. When your thoughts are scattered everywhere except where you are, peace becomes impossible. The first step to mental calmness is learning to be here, right now. Not in yesterday's mistakes or tomorrow's plans, but in this single breath. Peace is not something to be found. It's something to be noticed. It's been waiting underneath the noise the entire time. A big part of maintaining peace is learning what to walk away from. You do not have to attend every argument you're invited to. You do not have to explain yourself to everyone who misunderstands you. You do not have to prove your worth to those who cannot see it. Mental peace grows when you stop feeding situations that drain your energy. Some people thrive on conflict and chaos. You don't have to join them. The moment you stop reacting to everything that doesn't align with your inner calm, you reclaim power over your life. Peace also requires boundaries, clear, firm, and consistent. Without them, your mind becomes the dumping ground for other people's emotions, demands, and expectations. Boundaries are not walls. They are gates that guard your energy. They remind both you and others that your time and attention are valuable. It's not selfish to say no when your peace is at risk. It's wise. Every time you protect your peace, You strengthen your ability to stay grounded in your truth. You teach people how to treat you by the standards you uphold for yourself. It's easy to assume that mental peace means always feeling calm and composed. But peace doesn't mean you never feel anger, sadness, or stress. It means you know how to navigate those emotions without being consumed by them. You allow feelings to exist without letting them take control. You become the observer of your thoughts instead of their prisoner. That's what emotional maturity looks like, responding thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. The ability to pause, breathe, and act with clarity is the essence of mental peace. Another powerful truth is that your environment shapes your state of mind. If you surround yourself with negativity, constant drama, or noise, peace will always feel distant. Mental calm thrives in simplicity. This doesn't mean isolating yourself, but becoming intentional about what you allow into your space. Pay attention to the conversations you engage in, the content you consume, the energy you keep around you. Your mind is a reflection of your surroundings. When you clean your space, you clean your thoughts. When you spend time in quiet environments, your mind learns to breathe again. Rest is a form of respect for your peace. We live in a culture that glorifies constant hustle, where slowing down is often mistaken for laziness. But exhaustion is not a badge of honor. It's a sign of imbalance. You cannot think clearly, create deeply, or love fully when your mind is running on empty. Rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Mental peace flourishes when you give yourself permission to pause, take breaks, disconnect from screens, spend time in nature. Let silence reset your nervous system. A peaceful mind grows from moments of stillness, not endless motion. Another aspect of mental peace is learning detachment, not in the cold or uncaring sense, but in the sense of not clinging too tightly to outcomes. When you attach your happiness to how things turn out, you set yourself up for disappointment. True peace comes when you do your best and release the rest. You trust that whatever happens, you'll adapt and grow from it. Detachment is not about indifference, it's about trust. It's believing that your worth isn't tied to success or failure, and that peace can exist even when life doesn't go according to plan. Gratitude also plays a quiet but powerful role in nurturing peace. When your focus shifts from what's lacking to what's already here, your mind relaxes. You stop chasing fulfillment and start experiencing it. Gratitude turns ordinary moments into enough. It grounds you in reality rather than illusion. When you wake up and take a moment to appreciate even the smallest comforts, a roof, a meal, a person who cares, you begin the day from a place of abundance, not scarcity. That shift alone can calm the restless thoughts that feed anxiety. Mental peace often requires forgiveness, not for others alone, but for yourself. Holding on to anger, guilt, or resentment is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to suffer. Forgiveness cleanses the mind. It doesn't erase what happened, but releases the emotional grip it has on you. When you forgive, you stop giving your energy to what you can't change. You make room for peace to take its place. Forgiveness is not a single act. It's a daily choice to value your inner calm more than your attachment to pain. Discipline is another key to peace. Chaos often enters through inconsistency. When your habits, sleep, or focus are scattered, your mind follows suit. A disciplined life doesn't mean rigidity. It means creating structure that supports serenity. Setting routines, maintaining self-care, and staying organized give your mind fewer reasons to spiral. Discipline keeps you steady when emotions fluctuate. When you know what matters and what doesn't, distractions lose their pull. Peace grows stronger when order replaces disorder. Mindfulness is the art of returning to yourself. Throughout the day, your attention gets pulled in 100 directions: notifications, conversations, responsibilities. Mindfulness brings it back. Whether it's through breathing deeply, meditating, or simply observing your thoughts without judgment, mindfulness reconnects you with the present. It reminds you that peace isn't somewhere far away. It's in this breath, this heartbeat, this moment. Every time you bring yourself back to now, you strengthen your relationship with peace. Mental peace also means accepting that not everything deserves an answer. Sometimes silence is the best response. Not because you're weak, but because you understand your energy is precious. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding or prove every point. The need to always respond comes from insecurity. The ability to stay silent comes from peace. You start to realize that calmness is power. Not reacting to negativity doesn't mean you don't notice it. It means you've chosen to rise above it. From a deeper perspective, peace is not something to achieve, but something to return to. You were born with it. As children, peace came naturally. We lived in the present, forgave easily, and found joy in simplicity. Life's noise taught us stress, comparison, and constant striving. Prioritizing mental peace is about unlearning those habits. It's about coming home to the quiet strength within you, the one that doesn't need validation, competition, or approval to feel whole. One of the most practical ways to maintain peace is to simplify your priorities. Ask yourself often, does this add to my peace or take from it? If it adds, nurture it. If it takes away, release it. That simple question can reshape how you live. Peace doesn't come from having more. It comes from needing less. The fewer unnecessary attachments, expectations, and comparisons you carry, the lighter your mind feels. Simplicity is the soil where peace grows. Mental peace also comes from acceptance. Accepting that life will not always be fair, people will not always act as you hope, and outcomes will not always match your plans, but you can always choose how to respond. Acceptance doesn't mean indifference. It means wisdom. It means you've stopped fighting reality and started flowing with it. When you no longer resist every twist in life, your mind softens. You begin to see that peace isn't the result of perfect conditions. It's the result of inner alignment. Prioritizing mental peace is one of the greatest forms of self-respect. It means valuing your emotional well-being enough to make hard choices, to walk away from what drains you, to protect your energy, to rest when you need to, and to stop chasing things that don't bring joy. Peace doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. It's the quiet confidence that no matter what happens, you can stay centered, and that inner stillness, once built, becomes unshakable. It becomes your true power. When you make peace your priority, life begins to change from the inside out. You stop reacting to everything that's temporary and start focusing on what's timeless: clarity, calm, compassion, presence. You begin to live with intention rather than impulse. You learn to carry stillness with you even in the middle of noise. That's what real success looks like. Not just having more, but being more aware, more balanced, more free. And once you experience that state of peace, you'll realize it's not something to chase anymore. It's something you've been carrying within you all along, waiting for you to choose it. Number 8. Speak kindly within. The way you speak to yourself shapes everything. Your confidence, your choices, your energy, and your peace of mind. Every single day, there's a voice inside your head narrating your life. That voice can be your biggest supporter or your harshest critic. Speaking kindly within is not just about positive thinking. It's about rewiring the language of your mind. It's about transforming the way you relate to yourself. Because no matter how encouraging the world around you might be, if your inner dialogue is cruel, you'll never feel free. Think about it. How often do you say things to yourself that you would never say to another person? You make a small mistake, and suddenly your mind screams, "You're so stupid." You fail at something, and that voice whispers, "You'll never get it right." We're taught to be kind to others, but not always to ourselves. Yet the truth is, you are the person you spend the most time with. You are your lifelong companion. So if your inner voice is constantly tearing you down, how can you ever feel at home within your own mind? Speaking kindly to yourself doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means being compassionate, even when you fall short. It means replacing harsh judgment with understanding. When you make a mistake, you don't need to attack yourself. You can say, "That didn't go how I wanted, but I can learn from it." That single shift changes everything. Instead of guilt, you create growth. Instead of shame, you build resilience. You begin to treat yourself not as an enemy to be corrected, but as a friend to be supported. Self-talk isn't just background noise, it's programming. The mind believes what it hears most often. If your internal dialogue is constantly negative, Your subconscious begins to operate from that belief. You start doubting your worth, fearing failure, avoiding challenges. But when you intentionally speak with kindness, you begin to reprogram your thoughts toward courage, patience, and confidence. Every word becomes a seed planted in your subconscious. Over time, those seeds grow into habits of thought, habits that shape how you show up in the world. It's important to realize that self-criticism often disguises itself as motivation. You might tell yourself, if I'm hard on myself, I'll improve. But cruelty doesn't create discipline. It creates fear. You can't build growth on a foundation of self-hatred. True motivation comes from encouragement, from believing you're capable of doing better. Think of how you'd support a child learning something new. You wouldn't shout at them for failing. You'd guide them gently, reminding them they can do it. You deserve the same patience and kindness from yourself. There's a powerful calm that comes when you stop fighting with your mind. The more you resist your own emotions, the louder they grow. But when you meet yourself with compassion, even the heaviest feelings start to soften. Kind self-talk doesn't mean you ignore pain. It means you comfort yourself through it. When you feel anxious, instead of saying, I hate this feeling, you can tell yourself, it's okay to feel this way right now. I'm safe. I can handle this. That simple shift turns your inner world from a battlefield into a place of healing. Learning to speak kindly within also means recognizing that your thoughts are not always facts. The voice that says you're not good enough isn't the truth. It's just a thought, often shaped by fear or past experiences. You don't have to believe every word your mind tells you. You can challenge it. You can talk back. When your thoughts spiral into self-doubt, pause and ask, is this true, or am I just being harsh on myself? That awareness alone gives you power. It reminds you that you are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. Affirmations are a simple yet profound way to nurture inner kindness. They're not magic spells, but they retrain your brain to think differently. Start your day with phrases like, I am learning and growing, I deserve patience, or I am enough even when I'm still becoming. At first, your mind might resist these words because they feel unfamiliar. But repetition builds belief. The more you affirm kindness, the more your subconscious begins to accept it as truth. It's like replacing an old broken recording with a new one that finally uplifts you. There's another layer to speaking kindly within. It's not just about the words, but the tone. Sometimes your inner voice sounds angry, not because of what it says, but how it says it. Imagine two voices, one that says, you can do better, with love, and another that says the same words with disgust. The difference is energy. The tone of your inner dialogue determines how you feel about yourself. See to yourself the way you would speak to someone you deeply care about, with encouragement, warmth, and respect. Many people think self-compassion will make them lazy or complacent, but it does the opposite. When you feel supported instead of attacked, you become more willing to take risks and grow. You stop fearing mistakes because you know they won't destroy your self-worth. Kindness builds courage. Harshness builds hesitation. The most successful people aren't those who punish themselves into progress. They're the ones who nurture their potential even through failure. You also need to be aware of the silent language of comparison. Every time you look at someone else and tell yourself, they're better than me, you're planting a seed of unkindness in your mind. You diminish your own light by measuring it against another's. Speaking kindly within means celebrating your own journey without needing to compete. You can admire others without belittling yourself. You can say, their success inspires me, instead of, I'll never be like them. That shift transforms envy into motivation. To speak kindly within, you must also forgive yourself for the times you didn't. There will be moments when you slip back into old habits, when you criticize, overthink, or judge yourself harshly. That's okay. The goal isn't perfection, it's awareness. When you catch yourself being unkind, pause and gently correct it. You can say, I spoke harshly to myself just now. I didn't deserve that. That moment of awareness is progress. Self-kindness isn't something you master overnight. It's something you practice daily, like watering a garden. When you start treating yourself with compassion, everything begins to shift. You become calmer, more patient, and more resilient. You no longer seek external validation as desperately because you've already found validation within. You stop chasing approval because you've already given yourself permission to be enough. The noise of the world grows quieter when your inner voice becomes gentle. That's the power of internal kindness. It builds unshakable confidence from the inside out. Sometimes, speaking kindly to yourself means honoring your limits. It's acknowledging when you're tired and need rest instead of pushing yourself past exhaustion. It's saying, "I've done enough for today," instead of "I should be doing more." Kindness isn't only about words, it's also about how you treat yourself through action. When your body and mind are asking for care, listen. Self-kindness is self-respect in motion. And here's something often overlooked. The more kindly you speak within, the more naturally you speak kindly to others. Your internal world reflects in your external behavior. When you're gentle with yourself, you become more understanding of others' flaws. When you stop judging yourself harshly, you stop needing to judge anyone else. Inner kindness radiates outward. It's how personal peace spreads into collective harmony. If you've spent years speaking harshly to yourself, it might feel strange to change. But remember, every time you choose a kinder word, you're rewriting your story. You're replacing self-doubt with self-trust. You're teaching your mind to see you not as a problem, but as a person worthy of love, respect, and growth. And over time, that new voice, the gentle, supportive one, becomes louder, steadier, and stronger than the old one ever was. So let me remind you, you deserve to be spoken to with kindness, especially by yourself. You deserve words that heal, not harm. You deserve a mind that encourages you to rise, not one that drags you down. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you love deeply, because you are that someone. And when you start doing that, when your inner voice becomes your greatest ally instead of your fiercest critic, you'll discover that peace, confidence, and joy aren't things to find outside. They've been waiting for you within all along. Number 9. Choose yourself daily. Choosing yourself daily is not selfish. It's survival, it's sanity, it's strength. It's the art of remembering that your life is your responsibility and your time is your most sacred currency. Every morning when you wake up, you're faced with a quiet decision. Will you live today for yourself or for everyone else's expectations? The world will constantly pull at you, demanding your energy, your approval, your attention. People will have opinions about what you should do, how you should look, and who you should become. But if you never learn to choose yourself first, you'll spend your entire life being a guest in your own story. Choosing yourself daily means giving yourself permission to be the main character of your life, not a background actor in someone else's. It's about taking ownership of your choices, your emotions, and your boundaries. It's standing tall in your own values, even when others try to shake your confidence. So many people wait for others to validate their worth before taking action. They wait for support, for approval, for the right moment. But real power comes from choosing yourself, even when nobody else claps for you. It's about saying, "I believe in this path, even if I walk it alone for a while." Life constantly asks for trade-offs. You can either choose yourself or choose comfort. You can choose progress or choose to please others. You can choose growth or choose to stay silent. Every yes to yourself is often a no to something or someone else, and that's perfectly fine. Choosing yourself doesn't mean shutting others out. It means not abandoning yourself to keep others comfortable. It's the discipline of saying, "I matter too." When you start making decisions that align with who you are, you stop feeling lost because you finally begin living in truth. There will be days when choosing yourself feels like a battle. When you decide to chase your dream instead of settling for what's safe, people might not understand. When you set boundaries, you might be called difficult or selfish. But remember, you're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to live a life that feels honest and fulfilling to you. The people who truly care about your growth will respect your choices. Those who don't were never meant to guide your journey. Your task is not to convince the world of your worth, but to stay grounded in it no matter who questions it. Choosing yourself daily also means listening to your inner voice, that quiet intuition that often knows the truth before logic does. We've been trained to doubt that voice, to rely on external opinions instead of our own instincts. But intuition is wisdom. It's your mind and soul communicating through subtle feelings and signals. When you ignore it, you betray yourself a little. When you honor it, even in small ways, you build self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Every time you follow your gut and it leads you right, you reinforce the message, I can rely on me. You can't choose yourself without boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they're gates that protect your peace and energy. Without them, you'll constantly feel drained, resentful, and invisible. Choosing yourself daily means saying no when something doesn't align with your values or when it costs your peace. It means not forcing yourself into situations that feel wrong just to avoid disappointing others. It's the courage to say, I can love you and still choose. That kind of strength doesn't come overnight. It's built through consistent acts of self-respect, even when it feels uncomfortable. Another part of choosing yourself is honoring your needs without guilt. Society often romanticizes self-sacrifice, praising people who give everything to others while ignoring their own exhaustion. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot guide others if you're lost yourself. Taking time to rest, to recharge, to enjoy solitude is not laziness. It's maintenance for the mind and spirit. You deserve the same care you offer everyone else. Choosing yourself is remembering that your well-being is not negotiable. There's beauty in realizing that every choice you make is a reflection of what you believe you deserve. When you accept less than you want, you send the message to yourself that you're not worthy of more. But when you raise your standards, not from arrogance, but from self-awareness, you shift your entire energy. Opportunities, people, and circumstances that align with your growth begin to appear because you're no longer operating from desperation. Choosing yourself is not about control. It's about alignment. It's about saying, I will no longer settle for what drains. To choose yourself daily also means learning to detach from the approval of others. Approval feels comforting because it makes you feel accepted, but it can become a trap if you depend on it. If you only move when others validate your choices, your freedom isn't truly yours. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be liked, but there's something deeply wrong with betraying yourself to be liked. True peace comes from living in a way that makes you proud, even if no one applauds. When you stop performing for the world and start showing up authentically, your life becomes lighter, freer, and more meaningful. Choosing yourself doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it's waking up early to pursue a goal no one else sees. Sometimes it's saying goodbye to someone who doesn't respect your boundaries. Sometimes it's sitting in silence to process emotions instead of distracting yourself with noise. It's not always easy. It often hurts. But that pain is the cost of growth. Choosing yourself daily requires courage because it often means walking away from things that no longer serve you, even when they once felt familiar and safe. Many people confuse choosing themselves with selfishness, but there's a difference. Selfishness is taking from others without giving back. Self-choosing is making sure you don't give so much that nothing remains for you. When you fill your own cup, you actually have more to offer the world. You show up as a better friend, partner, and leader because your energy is no longer coming from depletion. When you respect your own needs, you model for others how to respect theirs. That's how you quietly inspire others to live authentically, by example, not by explanation. Choosing yourself daily also means being consistent with your growth. It's not a one-time act of self-love. It's a daily commitment. Every morning, you have the chance to decide who you want to be and how you'll honor that choice. You might not always get it right, but consistency is more important than perfection. The point isn't to always feel confident. It's to always come back to yourself when you feel lost. You become your own anchor, no matter how strong the waves get. One of the most powerful ways to practice this is through mindful decision-making. Before agreeing to something, pause and ask, is this truly right for me? You don't have to explain your reasoning to everyone. You don't owe endless justification for choosing peace over chaos or clarity over confusion. Each time you make a decision that honors your energy, you reinforce your self-worth. That's how choosing yourself becomes second nature. It stops feeling like rebellion and starts feeling like truth. Choosing yourself also means staying loyal to your goals when no one else believes in them. Many dreams die because people wait for external validation before taking action. But your vision was given to you for a reason. It's not meant to make sense to everyone else. Protect it like a flame in the wind. Feed it with effort, focus, and patience. You don't need everyone to see it. You just need to keep it alive long enough for it to grow. The moment you realize you can choose yourself without needing applause is the moment you become unstoppable. This act of self-choice extends beyond actions. It's emotional too. It means choosing forgiveness over resentment, choosing calm over chaos, choosing peace over endless overthinking. Every emotional response is a choice. You can choose to react from pain or respond from wisdom. You can choose to revisit old wounds or release them. You can choose to dwell in fear or move in faith. Choosing yourself daily means deciding that your peace is worth more than your pride and that your growth is more valuable than being right. There's a quiet strength in those who choose themselves. They don't need to shout their worth because they live it. Their confidence doesn't come from arrogance, but from alignment. They know that self-prioritization is not about neglecting others. It's about honoring their own existence. When you choose yourself daily, you begin to create a life that reflects authenticity, balance, and freedom. You stop chasing temporary validation and start cultivating lasting fulfillment. The truth is, no one can choose you the way you can. No one else knows the full weight of your dreams, the battles you've fought, or the lessons you've learned. Only you know what it feels like to carry your own soul. So give yourself permission every day to honor it. Choose yourself when it's easy and especially when it's hard. Choose yourself when you're doubting, when you're tired, when no one notices the effort. Each time you do, you reinforce your inner power. You remind yourself that you are not a passenger in your life. You are the one steering it. When you start living from that truth, everything begins to shift. You attract experiences that mirror your self-worth. You find peace in solitude. You stop chasing what doesn't belong and start creating what does. You begin to realize that choosing yourself daily isn't just about living better, it's about living free. Because when you choose yourself, you stop waiting for the world to give you permission to be who you already are. Number 10, grow through love. Growth is often described as a process of endurance, a journey of pushing through pain, failure, and hardship. But what if real growth, the kind that transforms you from the inside out, comes through love? Love is the quiet force that softens resistance, dissolves bitterness, and reminds you that becoming your best self doesn't have to mean fighting against yourself. To grow through love means to evolve, not from fear, guilt, or shame, but from compassion, acceptance, and understanding. It means seeing yourself not as a problem to be fixed, but as a masterpiece, still being painted. When you grow through love, you stop using suffering as your only teacher. Pain has its place, yes, but love teaches differently. Pain breaks things open. Love fills what's broken with light. Pain reveals what's wrong. Love helps you rebuild what's right. There is something profoundly powerful about allowing kindness, rather than struggle, to lead your evolution. Growth doesn't always have to hurt. It can also feel gentle, liberating, and deeply nurturing. It's the kind of growth that doesn't leave scars, but strength. So much of what holds people back from growing is the belief that they are unworthy of love until they've changed. They think, I'll love myself when I'm better, when I'm successful, when I've healed. But that mindset traps you in an endless loop of never feeling enough. Growth through love begins when you reverse that logic. You don't wait to be perfect to give yourself love. You use love to become the version of yourself that feels free. Love is not the reward for growth. It's the fuel for it. When you treat yourself with love, something inside you starts to shift. You begin to act from intention, not insecurity. You stop chasing validation and start creating peace. You stop running from your flaws and start understanding them. Love gives you the patience to sit with your imperfections without judgment. It gives you the courage to forgive your past, the faith to embrace your present, and the hope to build a future you're proud of. It's not weakness to love yourself in the middle of your mess. It's wisdom. Love is not passive. It's one of the most powerful energies that exist. It drives transformation in ways fear never can. Fear might push you forward, but love sustains you. Fear motivates you to avoid pain. Love motivates you to seek meaning. When your actions come from love, Your growth becomes peaceful instead of frantic. You no longer feel the need to rush toward a version of yourself that's good enough. You grow patiently, with compassion for where you are and excitement for where you're headed. Love also teaches resilience. People often think toughness is built by hardening yourself against pain, but real strength is the ability to stay open despite it. Love keeps your heart soft in a world that can be harsh. It gives you the grace to endure without becoming bitter. When life hurts, love says, I can still find something good in this. That mindset doesn't deny hardship. It transforms it. Every challenge becomes an invitation to expand your understanding of yourself and others. Through love, even wounds can become wisdom. To grow through love, you have to see others through that same lens. The way you treat people reflects the depth of your inner growth. Love doesn't mean letting others walk over you. It means responding to life from clarity instead of resentment. When someone disappoints you, love doesn't ask you to excuse it, but to release the poison of hatred it could leave behind. It teaches you that forgiveness is not approval, it's freedom. You don't forgive to fix the past. You forgive to protect your peace and move forward unburdened. Love also reshapes how you handle failure. When you grow through love, you no longer interpret failure as proof that you're not good enough. Instead, you see it as feedback, a guide showing you where to adjust. Love gives you the humility to admit mistakes without self-condemnation, and the confidence to keep going anyway. You start to realize that every setback is simply a redirection towards something better aligned with who you are becoming. That perspective turns failure from an enemy into a teacher. This way of growing also extends to your relationships. When you evolve from love, you stop seeking people to fill your voids and start connecting from wholeness. You no longer use others as mirrors to prove your worth. You already know your worth. That shift changes everything. Relationships become partnerships, not dependencies. You begin to attract people who match your energy, not your emptiness. Love makes you magnetic, not because you chase, but because you radiate peace and confidence that others can feel. To grow through love, you must first allow yourself to receive it. Many people are comfortable giving love, but uncomfortable receiving it. They deflect compliments, downplay their strengths, and resist affection because they subconsciously believe they don't deserve it. Growth through love begins when you allow yourself to be fully seen and still feel safe. It's when you no longer shrink from kindness or doubt. It's real. You learn that love isn't something you have to earn. It's something you allow. Every act of love, whether it's forgiving yourself, choosing peace, or being gentle when you fail, is a step forward in your growth. Love is not just a feeling, it's a practice. It's how you treat yourself when no one's watching. It's how you speak to your soul after a hard day. It's how you keep believing in better, even when things don't go your way. Growth through love is steady, patient, and honest. It requires showing up for yourself consistently, especially when you feel undeserving. One of the most overlooked forms of love is gratitude. Gratitude is the lens that helps you see growth where others see struggle. It's love in its purest form, appreciation. When you focus on what's good, you amplify it. Gratitude grounds you in the present, reminding you that growth isn't only about what's ahead. It's also about honoring how far you've already come. You can't grow through love if you're always fixated on what's missing. True progress happens when you can say, I am grateful for this version of me, even as I'm becoming more. Another powerful dimension of growing through love is self-responsibility. Love doesn't mean avoiding accountability. It means embracing it with compassion. When you grow through love, you take ownership of your choices, not to punish yourself, but to empower yourself. You recognize that every decision, good or bad, is an opportunity to learn. You stop blaming others for your unhappiness because you realize your growth is in your hands. Love says, I have the power to change, and that realization is freedom. Love transforms your relationship with time. When you grow through love, you stop rushing your evolution. You no longer demand overnight change. You understand that growth happens in seasons, some fast and bright, others slow and quiet. Love helps you honor every stage. Even when progress feels invisible, love whispers, keep going, you're not standing still, you're strengthening your roots. This patient awareness prevents burnout and replaces pressure with presence. You learn to trust the process instead of forcing it. There's something extraordinary about the person who chooses to grow through love in a world obsessed with hustle and competition. While others measure success through speed or status, you measure it through peace, integrity, and connection. You don't need to prove your worth, you live. You don't need to outshine others. You shine from within. Love becomes your compass. It points you toward authenticity every single time. And as you continue to grow through love, your presence itself becomes healing. You become the person who brings calm to chaos, understanding to conflict, and light to dark spaces. Not because life is perfect, but because love has rooted deeply within you. It changes the way you see the world and the way the world experiences you. People feel safer around those who lead with love because love radiates safety, warmth, and acceptance. In the end, to grow through love means to evolve without losing your softness. It's choosing compassion over cynicism, empathy over ego, patience over pressure. It's understanding that love isn't something you find, it's something you become. Every day you have the chance to nurture that energy within yourself, to let love be the soil your growth rises from. Because when love becomes your foundation, you stop breaking every time life tests you. You bend, you adapt, and you rise stronger, wiser, and more open than. The greatest growth happens when you stop asking, how can I be better? And start asking, how can I love more deeply? Love yourself enough to keep learning. Love life enough to keep showing up. Love others enough to stay kind, even when it's hard. That's how you grow, not through pressure, but through peace. And when love becomes the force behind your evolution, you'll find that growth no longer feels like a struggle. It feels like coming home to yourself again and again.